Hi, this is Sam from BNS About Movies. Thanks for listening to the show. This time, we're going to talk about Star Wars, but not really. Because after Star Wars became a big deal, Luigi Cozy was able to round up a pretty decent budget to make his own movie. It was going to be called Empire of the Stars, which eventually ended up becoming the movie we're going to talk about today, Starcrash. Cozy battled against food poisoning of the cast and crew, and even a communist worker revolt, which led to the movie being held for ransom to deliver a movie that looks nothing like Star Wars. Nope, Starcrash is the very definition of what I love in a movie. It's a movie that takes its inspiration from one source, then piles on the crazy, then gets weird, and then brings you something like you've never seen before. Maybe that's because Luigi Cozy never saw Star Wars. He'd only read the novelization of the film. So he was going with what was in his head when he made his own version. In a galaxy far, far, well, you know what I mean, there is Count Zarthan, and that's Joe Spinell. Yep, Frank Zito from Maniac is the Darth Vader of this movie, and that instantly doesn't tell you why you should watch it. That's why you should watch it. He's taking over the galaxy with a spaceship that's shaped like a giant fist. Really, from the minute I saw this as a kid, I saw it at the drive-in, the Spotlight 88 drive-in in Beaver Falls. Sadly, now gone thanks to a tornado many years ago. Still a flea market there called the Spotlight 88. I saw this with Battle Beyond the Stars. Anyway, who is to stop Count Zarthan? Well, that might be Stella Starr, who is Carolyn Monroe. Who, if you don't know Carolyn Monroe, my gosh, go watch Faceless, Slaughter High, The Spy Who Loved Me, Dr. Fives Rises Again, Dracula AD 72, Captain Kronos Vampire Hunter, Maniac with Spinell. I love Carolyn Monroe. When I met her in person, I could barely talk to her, and my wife had to explain to her that I liked movies and that I really liked her movies and that I liked Italian movies because that's all I could get out, and I wasn't making any sense. She is teaming up with Acton, who is Marjo Gortner, a former child preacher that exposed the faith healing racket in the 1972 Oscar winning documentary Marjo, as well as recording the album Bad But Not Evil. After that, he was in a ton of these movies like The Food of the Gods and Mausoleum. They discover a body in hibernation as they go through some space wreckage, but get caught by the Imperial Space Police Sheriff L. It's a robot that really sounds like he walked out of a spaghetti western. And the green-skinned Chief Thor, who is Robert Tessier, who formed Stunts Unlimited with director Hal Needham. They're all sentenced to life on separate prison planets. Stella breaks out of her sentence nearly immediately and is also just as immediately recaptured by Ellen Thor, who also have Acton. The Emperor of the Galaxy, who is Christopher Plummer, who shot all his days on a soundstage very quickly. And when asked why he was in this movie, he said, "Give me Rome any day. I'll do porn in Rome as long as I can get to Rome." He thanks him for recovering the survivor and informs them of the battle with Zartharn and asks for their help in finding his weapon and two other escape pods, one of which might contain his son. So we've kind of gone from these guys being bad guys or maybe ne'er-do-wells to suddenly being part of the rebellion. A quick note, only Marjo Gortner, David Hasselhoff, Christopher Plummer, and Joe Spinell got to dub their voices. Spinell also worked as a dialogue coach on the set due to the budget. That's why Elle is played by one actor, Judd Hamilton, and voiced over by Hamilton Camp. It's also why the English-speaking Carolyn Monroe has the voice of Candy Clark, who was Gortner's wife at the time. The film turns into a series of adventures. It's a lot like a movie serial, and that's where Luigi Cozy was coming from with this, where our heroine goes from planet to planet, battling all manner of creatures and races, like a world full of Amazons that have a gigantic female robot in glorious stop motion that fires a monstrous sword as it menaces Elle and Stella, or Thor revealing himself to be Zartharn's Prince of Darkness and stranding everyone on a snow planet while Elle sacrifices himself by giving his body temperature to save Stella. He says, now, maybe it's time to use your ancient system of prayer. I hope it works for robots as well. Forget for a second you're watching low-budget space opera and just indulge yourself in the emotions of that line. And Acton straight up murders Thor as he gets back, and then brings Elle and Stella back from the dead. Our heroes discover the location of the third pod, but are attacked by Zartharn's force field. As they land and inspect the pod, cavemen attack and tear Elle to pieces. However, a man in a gold mask fires laser bolts from his eyes and saves them. And that man is Prince Simon, who is the Emperor's son. And that is David Hasselhoff. Acton comes back and uses a laser sword to take out the rest of the cavemen. They are on the Count's planet now. Guards capture everyone, and the Count reveals his plan to lure the Emperor here and blow the planet up with him on it. He asks several robots to take watch, but Acton fights and destroys them, but is mortally wounded. Before he dies, he explains he's accepted his death. It's a really strange speech, like a Zen cone inside a box of sugary breakfast cereal here that he tells everybody. This movie hits some very emotional levels for me. The Emperor arrives and uses a green ray to stop time, saving everyone, saying, I know, my son, I wouldn't be Emperor of the Galaxy if I didn't have some powers at my disposal. Imperial battleship, halt the flow of time. Yes, Starcrash, beyond having very emotional dialogue, also has some of those ridiculous dialogue. A huge space battle breaks out, filled with rockets that literally are giant bullets that have troopers inside them, suicide troopers, and explosions and plants being threatened. And the Emperor rams his ship, the floating city, into the Count ship to kill them both. However, L has been repaired, saying it's so nice to be turned on again, which means he and Stella volunteer to do the suicide mission, but it's a suicide mission that they survive. Simon picks up our heroes, and the Emperor gives a speech, another reminder of Starcrash's great dialogue. Well, it's done. It happened. The stars are clear, the planets shine, and we won. Oh, some dark force, no doubt, will show its face once more. The wheel will always turn, but for now it's calm. And for at least a little time, we can rest. The little time that they could rest was supposed to not be that long because Cozy had planned a sequel that was going to be called Star Riders, which would have starred Klaus Kinski, Nancy Kwan, and Jack Rabin, and had a $12 million budget that was going to come from Canon Films. I weep for what has not been made. And also, there is a Starcrash 2. It also has a Bella Star in it. Cozy used that name, Bell or Stella Star, in every movie. Escape from Galaxy 3 is that movie. Anyway, I remember, as I said, seeing this at the Spotlight as a kid. And I remember my dad laughing through most of the movie, but really liking the part where the suicide bullets were fired in the Count ship. For the next several months, I probably thought about this movie more than Star Wars. We still had another summer to go before The Empire Strikes Back, and this is in the days before the constant flow of Star Wars related media. If you want to watch this movie, it's pretty easy to find. It's streaming almost everywhere. Shout Factory's put out numerous great releases of it. They have interviews with Monroe and Cozy, liner notes and commentary by Stephen Romano. There's even commentary by Eli Roth and Joe Dante. And this was the last trailer that Joe Dante cut for Roger Corman. It was even on one of the Mystery Science Theater 3000 seasons on Netflix. But you know what? This is not a movie that needs riffing to get you through it. This is one of my favorite movies. So if you want to get into it, I recommend it. And what I did say when I finally was able to get a word out and speak like an adult to Carol Monroe, I told her that the first Italian film that I ever saw was, believe it or not, Starcrash. And that led to me to have a long life of, 51 years now of loving giallo, Italian Gothics, Italian science fiction, Italian ripoffs. But it all starts here. And without Luigi Cozy and the folks in this movie, you wouldn't be hearing me talk about movies. Hey, if you want to learn more about the many movies that I watch, visit the website at www.bnsaboutmovies.com. Reach out to me at bnsaboutmovies@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. See you next time.